I know I'm a little bit late to the party, but it's time for my preseason top 25 rankings. We got the AP poll last Monday. We got the coaches poll the Monday before that. And I guess now on this Monday, you're going to get my preseason top 25 heading into week 0. Week 0 will be this week. I know I'm a little bit behind on some of my videos. The playoff predictions, they're coming. I'm going to do the Big Ten and SEC tomorrow and Wednesday. Then my playoff predictions on Thursday. And Friday, we'll show you what the top 25, what I think the top 25 is going to look like at the end of the season. But I want to stress that this preseason top 25 has nothing to do with schedules, has nothing to do with how I think teams are going to end up. I'm just ranking the teams based off how good I think that they are and doing something a little bit different. So I always have these clusters of teams that I think are pretty much even. So this year, when I got to a cluster, what I did is I went by last year's final ranking. So I went by how the teams finished last year as kind of a tiebreaker so that you had to earn a little something in these rankings. But of course, you guys know once we get into the season with my rankings, they're completely new every week. Preseason, it doesn't matter where the teams are ranked in the preseason. So keep that in mind as we go here. And I didn't even really look at the coaches and AP poll, so I don't know if my rankings are going to look similar or totally different. Again, I glanced at them, but I really don't remember where teams were ranked. So let's get to it, and we're going to start at the top, and then we'll work our way down. So the top 5, Georgia at 1, Ohio State 2, Oregon at 3, Texas at 4, and Ole Miss at number 5. So I look at Georgia and Ohio State as being pretty much tied, in my opinion. I think you can't go wrong either way. If you want to put Ohio State at 1, Georgia at 1, either one. I mean, these are the best two teams, and I think it's pretty clear. I'm not saying that we're guaranteed to get a national champion that is one of these two teams, because, of course, there is a 12-team playoff this year, and it's going to be different. But looking at the teams right now, I think these are clearly the top two teams. Really no question marks for either team. Both teams are deep, talented. I mean, they're just loaded on both sides of the ball. You could maybe say Georgia has the advantage because they've got Carson Beck, who's going to be one of the top quarterbacks in all of college football, versus Will Howard, who is going to be good, but how good, that's yet to be seen. And that's, if he turns out to be really, really good, oh man, Ohio State might just win this whole thing. So yeah, I think those are the top two teams. Then you've got Oregon and Texas kind of in that next tie, but the tie was actually broken here when C.J. Baxter went down with the injury. I think Oregon a little bit better when you look at both sides of the ball. So again, if C.J. Baxter had not gotten injured, I probably would have just looked at these two teams and compared and went to the rankings from last year, and you might have seen Texas at 3 and Oregon at 4. But that injury is just enough to put Oregon up to number 3, drop Texas down to 4. Oregon has a ton of talent, both sides of the ball, really, really good. Texas offense is going to be one of the best in the country. Defense, I think, is going to be solid, but maybe a little bit of a drop off from last year, and that's going to be their big concern. So I've got Ole Miss at number 5. Rebels are as good as maybe they've ever been. Definitely under Lane Kiffin. When you look at what they've done in the transfer portal, they've gotten better, especially on defense, and that's going to be the difference, I think, with this Ole Miss team. They've got a lot coming back on offense. We know the offense is going to be really, really good. So Ole Miss definitely is going to be a dangerous team, and we've got them at number 5. And then right behind them, Alabama at number 6. Crimson Tide, if Nick Saban was still there, I'd probably have Alabama at number 3. That's how big of a deal I think that is. And their schedule is very tough. If you watch my predictions, you probably figured out I'm not going to have Alabama in the top 10 at the end of the season, mostly just because of how tough their schedule is. But I think the defense, how much do they drop off after Saban and after some transfers? That's going to be the big question mark. And then with Jalen Milroe, how much can they improve him? He's got all the talent. He's got the running ability, obviously. I think he's obviously got a strong arm, and I think people talk about his accuracy. His accuracy is not that bad. I've seen him make a lot of great throws. I think it's more like the decision making and going through his reads and all that. That's where he's got to progress. And yeah, he's had some throws that maybe weren't super accurate, but if he can get better there, Alabama might be a team that could win it all. So yeah, Crimson Tide number 6. So 7 through 10, we talk about clusters. This was a cluster. These 4 teams, I kind of have even. So I went to the standings from last year, the rankings from last year, and that's why they're in the order that they're in. Penn State, Notre Dame, Oklahoma State, and Utah. So Penn State, a little bit of a drop ball potentially on defense, but Drew Aller, what can he do at quarterback? Can he take that next step? If he can improve a lot and get some help around him from the receivers, and Penn State can finally get an offense that's balanced with the defense they're going to have, and we already know the run game is going to be great. Watch out for Penn State. Could be a dark horse there in the Big Ten. I don't even know if we should say a dark horse. I mean, I have on the third-ranked team. Notre Dame at number 8. Riley Leonard steps in at quarterback. I think he's going to prove that he's a really good quarterback. I mean, look at what he did at Duke. I think he's going to do big things there at Notre Dame. Love some of the transfers they brought in, especially at wide receiver. Injury, or at least one injury on the offensive line. It may have been 2 guys. I can't remember now, but that's a bit of a concern. But the defense is going to be really, really good. Penn State and Notre Dame to me are very, very similar teams. And again, with these 4 teams, we went back to the rankings from last year. Oklahoma State at number 9. I've talked about them a lot. I know there are a lot of people that disagree. People think that the defense is going to struggle. I think the defense is going to surprise this year. Just wait. I think they're going to surprise. Defensive line is like the only area where I'm concerned, but I think the rest of that defense is going to be very solid. And then Utah, we know they're going to be solid on both sides of the ball. Maybe a risky pick. Well, this really isn't a prediction, but we really just don't know about Cam Rising and his health and if he can get back to his old ways. So that's kind of the only thing about Utah. But you look at the rest of the roster, they're going to be really good. I mean, there are no real question marks for this Utes team. So that's the top 10. Let's move on now to, all right, so Michigan's they're not in a cluster. They're alone at number 11. Then you got Florida State, Missouri, Oklahoma, and LSU. I'll talk about those, that next cluster. But first with Michigan, they're to me, in between those top 10 and then just ahead of the next group, because the defense is going to be so good, and we just have so many question marks about the offense, and that's really what it comes down to. If the offense is average, watch out for Michigan to be right in the thick of things again. But I have my question marks. And I'm one of those that I have to see it to believe it. I know, a lot of people, they hype up new players and everything, and sometimes they're right, sometimes they're wrong. But for me, I'm usually cautious there. And again, with a quarterback that's never really played any significant snaps, except basically as a runner last year. And we don't even know for sure if Alex Orji is going to be the guy. But I just have too many question marks about the offense to put them ahead of that tier that's ahead that I've just showed you. But the defense is going to be really good, and Michigan is still going to be a dangerous team. Okay, so the next cluster, you see these 4 teams. I'm going to read off the clusters just so you can kind of see where I'm at on these teams. So Florida State, Clemson, Miami, Missouri, Tennessee, Oklahoma, Iowa, Texas A&M, LSU, and USC. So all of those teams, in my opinion, are pretty close. I don't see, really any big separation between those teams. I know that's a lot of teams, but that's the group. That's the big group right there. I think there'll be some teams to break through from that group, and I think there'll be some teams that disappoint from that group. So what we did again is I just went based off of how the teams finished last year, how they were ranked last year. That's how I ranked this group of teams. So Florida State, obviously, they were ranked really high, right? Just missing out on the college football playoff. The defense is going to be really good again. You've got DJ Uiagalelei stepping in at quarterback. I think the receivers are a big concern. They need some guys to step up. I know Malik Benson is there coming over from Alabama, and he's been looking pretty good. But it's one of those, I got to see it to believe it, kind of with Florida State. I want to see what that offense looks like. But they're still a team that is capable of making or winning the ACC, obviously. So Missouri is next. Offense going to be really, really good. I don't think there's any question marks there. This is going to be a very, very explosive offense. Defense, I think, will drop off from where they were last year. I think they'll be okay. But that's going to be a bit of a concern. For Oklahoma, defense is not a concern. Their defense is going to be loaded. I think this could be a top 5 defense this year. And then on offense with Jackson Arnold, a lot of potential. We'll see if it works out. They've got some weapons around him. Offensive line, maybe a question mark, but we'll see about Oklahoma. They've obviously got a very, very tough schedule. LSU at 15. Garrett Nussmeier steps up there at quarterback. Some receivers have kind of emerged. We'll see what those guys look like. A lot of hype around Kyron Jackson at running back. Again, want to see it on the field. Offensive line obviously going to be great. This is going to be one of the best offensive lines in the country. And then defense, there's the question marks. Defensive line, a huge concern. Secondary, a concern. Linebackers should be good with Harold Perkins and Greg Penn, but we'll see what the rest of that defense looks like. If they improve a good bit on defense, LSU is absolutely a team that could get to the SEC championship. All right, 16 through 20. And again, we're still in that same cluster of teams here. Iowa at 16. Defense going to be really good. We'll see what the offense looks like. It's very similar to Michigan, in my opinion. A loaded defense, but question marks on offense. Quarterback play, receiver play, that's going to be a concern. I think they'll be able to run the football at least decently. But again, they won a lot of games last year just because of their defense. I don't know if they can win that many this year. We'll see. Tennessee at number 17. Offense going to be really good. They got a strong defensive line. This is another team that could get to the SEC championship. Absolutely. I love what they've got on offense. And I think, there are certain teams you just know, oh, this is going to be a top 10 offense, or at least close to it. Tennessee, Ole Miss, Texas, some of these teams we just know. And we're going to get that from Tennessee. And they've got a schedule that sets up pretty well. So watch out for the Vols. Number 18 is Clemson. I think the defense is going to be really good. Offense, I think, is going to surprise people. I think they're going to make some strides there. Cade Klubnik coming back again. I think this is going to be the year for him to break through with Garrett Riley, his second year with him. So I think Clemson is a dangerous team. USC at number 19, it's really all about the defense. How much will they improve on defense? Again, it's going to be an offense that'll be good. I don't think they'll be quite as good as last year, but still, with Lincoln Riley calling plays, the offense is going to be good. And I love the hires they made on defense. I think that's going to pay off. How much, we'll see. But USC could be a dangerous team. Miami, I said it, I think they're the most talented team in the ACC. If we're ranking these teams just on roster talent, Miami might be in the top 10. I mean, they've got that good of a roster, but we've seen it many times with Mario Cristobal not being able to win some of these games that they should. And again, can they take care of business in those types of games? That's going to be the key for them. So let's go now to 21 through, well, actually, before we talk about these teams, Texas A&M was also in that tier, so I want to mention them. Aggies, I think Mike Elko is going to come in there and do a great job right away. Connor Wigman back from his injury. I know they lost one of their running backs, but I'm telling you, I said this many times before, this is one of the deepest running back rooms in all of college football, so I think they're going to be okay there. And again, with Mike Elko taking over, I'm expecting big things from Texas A&M. And I think starting this year, they're going to have a really good season. So now, our next cluster of teams, we did have to leave, one team out of the top 25. So Kansas, Kansas State, SMU, Louisville, and West Virginia. That's the next tier of teams at NC State. So Kansas, Kansas State, SMU, Louisville, West Virginia, and NC State. Those are the next cluster of teams. So Kansas and West Virginia, in my opinion, are good enough to be in the top 25. They should be ranked, and then you could change them out with any of these teams, these last four teams, if you want, because, again, I think those teams are all very similar. But we had to go to the standings from last year, and those teams didn't quite make the cut. And, again, that's what I use as my tiebreaker this season. So Louisville, number 22, defense should be strong. Quarterback play will be the key for them. NC State, bringing in Grayson McCall, I think will be big. I think the offense is going to be very good. Defense, maybe not quite as good as some of the defenses we've seen in the past, but I think this is still going to be a very dangerous NC State team. SMU, a team that's loaded with talent. Talked about it. The offense is going to be explosive. I think they're going to be a good team. And then Kansas State, number 25, Avery Johnson steps in at quarterback. Can he live up to the hype? That'll be the big question. But I think they're going to lean on the run game and that defense anyways. So I don't think he's going to have to do too much. So Kansas State, my final top 25 team. And again, Kansas, I think, could be here. They're going to be really explosive offensively. And West Virginia, with their defense, their running game, they're going to be a team that I think could be here. And so, again, I don't know. I didn't look at the polls. I don't know if I have any teams that I did not rank that were in the coaches and AP polls. But this is my top 25 preseason. Like I said, it's going to completely change once we get into the season. So I'm only going to rank the teams based off of their performance this season, not going to look at name brands and all of that like we always do. That's how we always do the rankings. And I do have a quick favor. I would love for you guys to go and subscribe to the SEC channel at the Voice of College Football. I'm going to be doing some content over there. In fact, today I'm going to be dropping my SEC Power Rankings, and you'll see other great content from other contributors over on that channel as well. And we're about 70 subscribers away from 1,000, trying to get that channel to 1,000 subscribers. So please help us out. Go subscribe to this channel. Even if you're not an SEC fan, just help us out. Help us get to that 1,000 subscriber mark. Then you can unsubscribe if you don't like the SEC content. But I'm just asking a favor of all of you. I'll put a link down in the description, pop up a card here on the screen as well. That'll take you straight to that channel where you can go and subscribe and check out the content there as well. When you watch this video, I don't know if my power rankings will be up yet or not, but I'll probably post a link to those on the community tab here on this channel as well. So those are my rankings again. Would love to get your thoughts and maybe your top 25, your preseason rankings. Let me know how you'd rank the teams down in the comments below.